was out on the street for 17 years of my life, buying, selling, using, and playing with drugs. I did it for a long time, and I was good at it. I'm gonna start from back when I was a young kid. I grew up here right in Adrian. My family's in Adrian, and yeah, I had a pretty good life growing up. I mean, my family's basically pretty normal. I had a father who would spend time with me. He'd take me fishing, and he tried to teach me a lot of the right things, you know. And so I basically had it pretty good growing up. How that all changed was when I was about 12, 13 years old, running around with the guys my age in my neighborhood. They started smoking weed. And for quite a while, I didn't smoke with them, but I continued to run around with them until eventually I picked up and started smoking weed myself. Now, at first, it was kind of like something I do on a special occasion or whatever, and, you know, and then pretty soon, you know, you're finding more and more excuses to get high. And, you know, getting high was really fun to me. In the beginning, I had a good time. I mean, I loved smoking bud. We'd sit around and laugh, mess around with each other, and it was fun for a while. Well, you know, when your mind learns to have so much fun using a drug, you know what happens? Is you forget to have fun, forget how to have fun when you don't have the drug in your system. And that's kind of what was going on with me, and, you know, eventually I kind of crossed over that invisible line where, you know, I was starting to get addicted. And, you know, it was not getting to be a good scene, you know. I had goals when I was a young man. I mean, athletically mainly. I had goals like, you know, I had a dream of being an Olympic wrestler. I started wrestling when I was about 9 years old. But I had dreams of being an Olympic wrestler. And I also had thoughts of, you know, hey, you know, if I'm big enough and good enough, maybe I can play football for U of M one day, you know. Keep in mind, I was just a young man then. And after I started getting high, man, those goals started disappearing. In fact, I completely forgot about the goals I had set for myself. And pretty soon, all I wanted to do was get high. And I went on through high school years, and eventually, like about 10th grade, I quit sports completely. It wasn't important to me no more. The only thing that was important was getting high and making money to get high. And that's basically how my life went, you know. My grades started going. Basically, I was a good student. Once getting high became #1 priority in my life, I didn't care about my grades. I didn't care what was happening to me, you know, my academics. I just wanted to get high all the time. I started experimenting with a lot of different drugs in high school. You know, there was a lot of drugs floating around. And I was running with the crowd that was getting high. I started, you know, taking pills, doing downers, acid, all different kinds of stuff. Along about my junior year of high school, I was drinking with a friend one night, and we were getting a pretty good buzz going from alcohol. Well, we went over to his place to listen to some music. And we're sitting over at his place, sitting on the couch. In front of his couch, he had a coffee table out in front of there, and he reached out, pulled out the drawer of the coffee table, and he took a needle and spoon out of that drawer, set it in front of him, and, you know, he started putting this drug in this spoon. And I remember at the time telling him, you know, man, that's really bad. I don't understand how you can do that stuff to yourself. I said, myself, I can just smoke a few joints, drink a few beers, and I'm cool. Well, this guy proceeded to tell me, haven't you ever had a shot from the doctor? I said, yeah, but I didn't like it, you know. I don't like shots. And he goes, well, I'll give you this shot. It's just like a doctor giving you a shot. And he said, you'll like this. It'll make you feel good. Within the next few seconds, I stuck my arm out, and this guy was injecting heroin into my body. My body's first reaction to that drug was, you know, I threw up. But after I threw up, I felt good. It was a good high. I enjoyed the high, you know. I mean, I related it as a positive experience. And from that night on, I never forgot what that felt like. You know, I didn't go right out and start shooting dope every day. However, I did start finding, special occasions, special reasons, special excuses to shoot dope. Just like I did with the other drugs when I was younger. I started finding these reasons. Uh, it was kind of like I'd be on the drug for a little while, and then I'd stay off of it, on it, and off, on, off, on, off. So I got out of high school. I got a job. Got married after a few years. Had a son. And all this time I had this little secret I kept from my wife, was this heroin thing. It was an on and off thing at that time. But it was a deep, dark secret I kept from my wife at the time. My marriage was basically based on partying. Okay, the woman I was married to liked to drink, liked to party. She could keep up with me. She never knew about the heroin thing, like I said. But she could party with me. It had nothing to do with love, or nothing to do with the things that a healthy relationship is made out of. And the reason for that is because when I was a young man, coming up through the school years, I never learned about what a healthy relationship is with a man or a woman. All the relationships I had in my life were based on drugs, drinking, and drugs. You don't learn about those kind of things in life when you're getting high. That kind of stuff just passes you right by. And that's exactly what happened with me. It's kind of like the first day that I really started partying was the day I stopped maturing. In other words, I was a grown man, and I was probably mature as a 12, 13, maybe a 14-year-old kid. And a lot of times that's the way I acted. It's like a very immature person. Anyways, I started finding more and more reasons to use this drug, heroin. And pretty soon, I was using it a lot, daily. It started causing a lot of problems in my marriage and at my job and in my life. And in fact, it got to the point where I went home from work one day and all my stuff was sitting on the porch, and my wife was telling me, "You're out of here." See, she knew what I was doing. She knew where a lot of the money was going. I became a liar to her. I became a liar to all my friends and family. My family told me, "We don't even want you in our house." My mom and dad, "We don't want you in this house. We're afraid you steal our jewelry." The same way as my brothers and sisters. They didn't want me around. All this stuff in my life was starting to close in on me. And I decided to get some help to save my marriage, to help my relationship with my family. I decided to get some help. I ended up checking myself into a hospital, into a 21-day program to get off heroin, to save my marriage, okay? I went through that program, got out of there, started going to 12-step fellowship meetings, Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous, and I was learning a lot about myself. In other words, these fellowships were making me take a good long look at myself, my character defects, the way I acted about certain things. It was very uncomfortable. I ended up getting mad at those people. They were actually trying to help me, but they were making me feel a lot of pain because I was, having to take a good long look at myself. I quit going to meetings. I quit getting help for my problems. I think I lasted about 3 days without support, and I ended up picking up a joint again. And from there, I started smoking the bud, but I told myself I will never pick up the needle again. I'll never pick up that needle and spoon again. I started drinking again shortly after that, and eventually I picked up a needle and spoon again. Okay, and I started getting pretty sick. And I started shooting dope daily again, and it was a bad scene. At the time, my wife told me, quit, or we're going to get a divorce or whatever, you know. Yeah, I told her, well, look, let's go down south where the climate is warm, and I can get away from this drug. I can get away from these people with the drugs, and I'll get off of this stuff. So we ended up going down south, and I was trying to get off this drug. Well, about the third day I was down south, I was at the beach one day, and it was a real sunny, beautiful day, and I was getting sunburned real bad. So I decided I was going to run up to the drugstore and get some sunscreen. I went up to the drugstore, got the sunscreen, set it on the counter. I was waiting for the cashier to come in, you know, ring up so I could pay her. I waited about 5 minutes, no cashier, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. There was nobody in the store. I looked over at the entrance to the store, and there was a sign on there. I realized the store was closed. The door was open. The store was closed. At the time, I didn't think too much about that, other than the fact that I should get the heck out of there, which I proceeded to do. I left. Went back down to the beach. Got back with the people I was with that day. Well, we started drinking beer and vodka, and you know, after being under the influence of alcohol, I started thinking about, you know, damn, there's that drugstore over there open. Got all these drugs in there. Next thing I knew, it was 3 in the morning. I was in that store and looking for drugs. I went up and down these shelves, and I couldn't really find anything that I knew would get me high. I went into the back of the store, and there was this little door there, and it had a big padlock on it. I said, man, there must be something back there. So I ended up breaking the padlock off, getting into this back room. And the first shelf of drugs I saw was a drug called Dilaudid, which is actually, you know, it's a synthetic heroin. It's for pain. So I just took all this stuff and I just threw it in the bag, and I got out of there. I hid that stuff in my car, came back to hometown here, and I'll tell you what, guys, I found out what being sick was all about. You know, I mean, I was an addict. I was a heroin addict long before I went down there, and I came back with all this drugs. I got to the point where I quit eating. Basically all I was doing was putting this drug into my body, shooting this drug into my body, and I didn't care about anything. You know, the big thing to me when I think about that night, what I did down there, is, you know, how alcohol played into that night, because it affected my decision-making process big time, which alcohol always did with me. In other words, I did a lot of stuff under the influence of alcohol that I never would have done if I wasn't drinking. Anyways, I got to the point where I couldn't even stand to look at myself in the mirror. I had hated this person that I had become. I probably weighed 135 pounds at the time, and I was like a walking dead man. And I decided to seriously get help to save my life, and I knew there had to be a better way to live, so I went back into the hospital. This time I was really serious. In fact, I was so serious that after 13 days in the hospital, they released me. And they could tell that, you know, how serious I was, and they thought I was ready to get out in the world and deal with my problems. Shortly after that, I got really active. In other words, I was getting a lot of help for myself. I was going to meetings, and I started volunteering in the school system. The reason I did that was I wanted to help. I told myself if I could help one young person to keep going, you know, the hell I put myself through and my family through, then it'd be all worthwhile. So I got real active in the school system. The school ended up sending me to school to learn how to actually help other people, and this whole thing just kind of took off and started rolling, and I was getting really busy in helping a lot of other people and, you know, getting some school at the same time. Then this position at work became available, which, you know, was Employee Assistance Program Director, and they asked me if I was interested in filling that position. And I ended up taking that job, and they sent me more school and training for that job. You know, I never would have thought in a million years that I could have turned my life into, you know, which was basically a life of crime and doing drugs. I never would have thought in a million years I could end up having a position at work, a position in the community, being known in the community as a person who can help other people. Never would have thought that would have ever happened to me. I think that's the most important thing I can probably tell you young people today, is that you can turn your life experience into a positive thing by helping other people and by getting involved. And you know, it's a wonderful thing. You know, recovery has given me a lot of gifts in my life. You know, today I'm a responsible person. I can pay my bills today. I can go get a loan today. You know, I got responsibility today. When I was using drugs, I didn't do anything that involved any responsibility at all. Recovery has given me self-esteem, where, you know, it gives me enough courage, you know, to get up in front of a crowd of people and talk and share my life, and to you know, to go to school and try to learn things and stuff like that. I remember the first time I went to an open AA meeting, and they had a guest speaker who was up there telling his life. And I was probably 3 or 4 months sober, clean and sober at the time. I told myself, man, I will never get up in front of a crowd of people and tell my story. You know, I was basically a shy, timid person. A year later, guess what? I was getting up telling my story. You know, that's one of the things that recovery has given to me. Not long after that, I even entered a contest where it was competitive speech giving up at a big school up at Black Lake, Michigan. I set a goal to win that contest. The second year I did it, I won it. So I started setting goals again in my life. And at first, a lot of these goals were just little things. But you know, I was accomplishing these goals. I was building up esteem, you know. And you know, today I've presently got goals in my life, you know, today. Recovery's had a really positive effect on my children. You know, I got a son 13 and a daughter 8. Today I got positive time I can spend with those kids. I can sit down with those kids and try to understand their problems, help them work through their problems, and help them live a good life. I never had any of that when I was using. You know, in kind of closing, because I'm going to open this up for some questions for you guys here in a minute, but you know, today I can live life on life's terms and don't have to go out and use for it. I mean, I can handle anything that might happen to me today. If I'm leaving out here and somebody bumps back into my car, I can handle that without having to pick up a drink or a drug over it. I can get out of my car, be assertive, intelligent, polite, and handle that kind of stuff. Man, when I was using, I was basically, I didn't care about anybody. Unless you had a drug for me or you owed me some money, I didn't really care. Today I'm a very caring person. That's another thing recovery has given to me. You know, the latest goal I've set is to get to finish my college degree. There's no doubt in my mind today that I'll finish that. It's hard because a lot of the years when I should have been learning things in high school and stuff, I was getting high. It's real hard to do at my age to go back to school when you're missing a lot of the basic skills that I should have had growing up. But if I work hard enough, I can do it. That's the way I look at it. If I want it bad enough, I can do it. Best thing I can tell you people today is when you get out of here, and if you think you can go back into your old hood with the old bros and hang out, good luck. You know, there's a saying that I kind of live my life by, and that you hang around the barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. Or if you hang around the barnyard long enough, you're going to step in a pile. And that's probably one of the wisest things I can tell you people today, is you seek positive friends when you leave this place. You know, seek out positive people. You might do that at churches, clubs, 12-step support groups, counselors, wherever. Don't be afraid to reach your hand out for help. Don't be afraid to you know, set some goals in your life and achieve those goals. Now, I've been clean almost 9 years now. And I do quite a bit of speaking, and one question I am often asked by young people is they ask me, do you still get high? And my answer to them is yes, because I still do get high. But I don't have to put a drug into my body to get high today. I might get high by taking a trip out to the Rocky Mountains and hiking through the mountains, or maybe bow hunting for an elk, or bow hunting for a bear, or taking a trip somewhere to see some beautiful thing that God put on this earth that I've never seen before. And it gives me a high feeling. It gives me a wonderful feeling. Today I have fun, and that feeling of fun comes from my heart. I don't have to mess my mind up or my body to have fun, you know. When I was using, I used to think in the beginning that was fun, but today I can look back and see that it was an artificial feeling. It was artificially induced because I had to put some drug in my body to feel that, you know. Today I don't have to do that. So many things I can do for fun today that don't involve drinking and drugging. You know, in closing, I'll just say that you know, you can get anything in your life you want if you are willing to put in the work and the effort to get it. Seek out positive people, positive places, and make a change. So I answer questions for you guys if you got any.
How long have you been sober?
How long I've been sober? I'm sneaking right up on 9 years. See, August 1st, I'll have 9 years. It took me about, 12 years to get that 9 years. In other words, in the beginning I relapsed several times because I got around my old friends. You know, I went back to the old hood, got with the old friends, and pretty soon I'm drinking and drugging and in trouble again. And I have been in trouble. I've done time on 5 different occasions in 4 different jails. I've never been to prison. I have done a year at a county jail. Well, actually not a year. I got out 8 months or 7.5 months because I was granted good time. But I sat in jail and I told myself, and for me, the damn cops got my number. They aren't going to leave me alone. They're going to pick on me until they have me in prison. It was always poor me. Boo hoo 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 hoo. I never once thought that even though I had been locked up 5 times because of drugs, I never once thought I might have had a drug problem. I never once thought I might have had to reach my hand out and get help. You know, that's part of the denial of disease of addiction, though, you know. I just didn't understand.
Did your wife stay with you?
No, we're divorced. We did, after I got clean, we lived a couple years together clean. And make a real long story short, she ended up picking up a drink and a drug again. And at that time, I had to make a decision whether I wanted to live clean or go back to the life that I used to live. And I made the decision to stay clean. It was the smartest thing I've ever done. I do not regret my divorce at all. And another interesting note is, in July of this summer, I got custody of my 13-year-old son and was granted 50% custody of my 8-year-old daughter. And I expect soon to go back to court to get full custody of my daughter. And I mean, that's another gift of recovery, you know. It's great to be a responsible person today. It really is. Go ahead.
When you for the second time when you got out there.
Speak up, I can't hear you. I got this thing here.
For the second time when you got out the rehab or whatever.
Yeah.
You got out 13 days. What was the motivation for you to really get your life together?
Oh man, you know, I just got so sick. That second time before I went into rehab, I was so sick. I mean, I had to quit eating. The first thing I did in the morning, at that time, you know, first thing I did in the morning was stick a spike in my arm and get high. This was before I even went to the bathroom, before I splashed water on my face. And I just could not stand to look at myself in the mirror anymore. And I mean, you know, I was dying. And I got really serious about beating this addiction. You know what I mean? But my motivation was that I got so sick before I went in that second time. You got a question?
I was wanted to question you on the was, wondering, like, do you, like, I mean, yeah, I was wondering, like, do you ever, like, think in your head to find an excuse, like, when you are on drugs, if you ever try to find your excuse while you're on drugs, or you just, like, I ain't used drugs for a long time, it's just one time, because it's a holiday.
Well, you mean nowadays do I ever think like, I can use one more time? That's your question? Check it out. I'll tell you another little fast story. Did you hear anything about this Woodstock concert they had not too long ago? Okay, I wanted to go to that. I just thought it'd be a neat thing to be there. So I hooked up with another recovering person, and we went with these two other people who are like what I call earthlings. They're normal people. They take a drink now and then. They still manage their life. Anyways, we went out to Woodstock. I'm in the concert, and oh God, I don't know how many people were there, but it's like I'm in the middle of 250, 300,000 people who are getting high. And guess what? And these little gears in my brain start turning, and I start telling myself, here I'm in New York. Hell, nobody knows me out here. I could get high, nobody's gonna know it, right? And my thinking started dwelling on that whole thing, and the tape started rolling. I'm thinking about getting high. Next thing I knew, I had a joint in my hand. And I was getting ready to light that joint when something hit me, and I told myself, man, I'm sitting here and I got this joint in my hand. I'm thinking, everything I have worked for, all the work I have done on myself, and everything I lived for, I'm about ready to throw it away here again with one joint. And, I thank God that I was able to pass that joint on and not hit it. But that's after almost, 8.5 years clean. I put myself in a situation where there was a lot of drug use and stuff, and man, but, to answer your question, I don't think about getting high very often these days, unless I put myself in a situation where getting high starts looking good again. And what I mean by that, if I get with the old friends and, going back to the old places I used to hang out at, it starts to look attractive again, so I don't put myself through that anymore. I know I can't get high successfully. Tried it too many times.
Was that recently? Was that recently?
Recently? Yeah. Like I said, I didn't pick up and use out there. That's real close. I've been abstinent from all drugs for, 8.5, almost 9 years,
Yeah, the first time you say you ever did heroin when you stuck your arm out.
Right.
What induced you to stick your arm out? I mean, what was it that made you want to take it? Because I know I done smoked marijuana and I done did it all, but I ain't never really wanted to shoot no needle in my arm, You don't like it, but
Yeah.
What?
You know what I used to say? Just what you just said, that whole last sentence you just said, I used to say that all the time. But what hit me that night, or, part of the big reason I ended up sticking my arm out that night and doing heroin was because I was 3/4 drunk. I mean, alcohol affected my decision-making process, which alcohol always did in my life. I made a lot of bad decisions when I was under the influence of alcohol. It wasn't so much that I wanted to try heroin or I wanted to shoot heroin. It was that I was 3/4 drunk. Therefore, I wasn't capable of making a healthy decision. That's why I know I'm also an alcoholic today, because alcohol always affected my whole decision-making process. Drug is a drug, man. I don't care if it's alcohol, or you're sniffing some aerosol, or you're smoking bud. A drug is a drug is a drug. It's all going to do the same thing to you. Some of it does it faster than others, like crack. I believe some crack addicts are hooked after their first toke. I work with a lot of crack addicts. I mean, I counsel with a lot of crack addicts. I smoked crack cocaine twice. For 3 times, excuse me. First time I smoked it, I was blowing out the first toke and I was already thinking about the second toke. And by the third toke, I was telling myself, man, I can't afford this drug because all I could think about was more. Go ahead.
When you say you became counselor, you like teach your son stuff, you know, like.
I'm a certified addictions counselor too. I work in the school system 2 afternoons a week, and about 85% of everything I do at my place of employment is drug and alcohol related.
So like you be trying to help your son get more information so he can know some.
Yeah, you know, try to help people out. You can do the same thing. Just by sharing your experience, you know that? Just by sharing your life experience, you can help other people.
Well, what do you do, like, if one of your old buddies come around that you used to get high with or whatever, and he continues to get high, and he try to influence you to come get high with him?
Well, you know, that doesn't happen. It has happened. But if it happened today, I'd have to see you later, pal. You know, I don't care to be around you if you're gonna, you know, continue to ask me to use or drink or whatever. You know, most of my friends, I'm talking about old friends, some of the people I used to drink and do drugs with, they come around me today, they're willing to spend time with me on my terms. In other words, they don't bring any drinks out to my place, or they don't bring any substance along with them, you know. But when I first started getting serious about recovery, I made a statement to my friends, you know, that, hey, I'm serious about staying clean. And after I did that, it was like, 3/4 of them disappeared. Never saw them again. I became a threat to them, you know. And the ones who did continue to spend time with me, like I say, they did it on my terms, which is cool. You know, I mean, I still care a lot about my old drug friends. And that's okay. It's okay to care about them. But I know today that I can't afford to be around them because I'll end up picking up and using again, you know. No, I changed my friends completely. You got a question?
I do, but I got lots of them. Take care.
Go ahead.
Like when you was doing drugs and your son, when you were buying stuff, how did he feel about you? Such as he like.
From the time my son was probably 5 years old, basically didn't even know his dad. Okay? Because I wasn't at home very often, and when I was so high that, you know, I couldn't spend quality time with the kid. There's no way I could pay attention to his needs or understand what he needed or anything like that. You know, I mean, I wasn't there. I wasn't in my right mind, you know. Today my son and I we have a fantastic relationship. He's almost 14 years old, and guess what? He's already picked up and used. And man, I mean, he got in trouble like that fast. Probably because, you know, you ever hear the X factor thing, the genetic link into addiction? It could be a genetic thing, you know, passed on from your parents, your grandparents, etc. Maybe he's high risk for that, you know. But he's living clean day at a time too now.
When you started like coming back, when you started to get clean,
Mm-hmm.
when you started coming back into your family, you know, did he have I don't know, a hatred or something towards you? Or
Resentment?
Yeah, resentment.
No, he didn't. He was pretty young, you know, when I started getting clean. I think he was just glad to have his daddy back, you know. I really do. You know, we have a good relationship today. And my daughter, she's only 8, so she's never seen her father high. There's only one father she knows, and that's the clean and sober father. So I have a fantastic relationship with her too, also, you know.
Her mom to the day to use drugs or whatever.
Pardon me?
Her mom use drugs?
My mom?
Her mom.
Her mom?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So she be around there sometimes?
not around me. We're divorced, brother. But
I'm talking about your daughter. Your daughter be
Yeah.
around there sometimes?
yeah. My goal is to get custody of my daughter. And that'll happen soon. You know, it takes time, but it'll happen soon. Do you have a question?
You betcha. You realize you're talking to a room full of guys that told me not too long ago, a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Couple of months.
Sweetheart.
Yeah.
You're gonna have drugs when you get back out there. It's not addictive. Marijuana, it's not addictive. I'm gonna get drunk on the weekends. I'm gonna make them weekends last, from Saturday or
Yeah.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Drugs aren't gonna hurt you. I can do it socially. Everybody else does it socially. It doesn't matter what I said to them, and
I know.
hope you're getting through. I just pray you're getting
I hope
through.
so. I hope I can get through at least one of you
You already
young
got the
people
meat.
here.
That's great.
You know, because your chances of never getting in trouble again are like tenfold if you never pick up a joint. And you know, if you think bud isn't addictive, well, then you really ought to look into the latest research on marijuana, because they know for a fact marijuana is very highly addictive, and it's probably one of the worst drugs you can put in your body. It stays in your system forever, stored in the fatty tissues of your brain and throughout your body. You know, I mean, you don't need drugs in your life to have fun. You don't need drugs in your life to get high. How many of you guys ever been up 10,000 feet in Rocky Mountains, watch sunset? That's a good high. Check it out. Save your money. Study, get a job, you can travel. There's so many beautiful things in this world that'll get you high that you don't need no drug.
Like you helping, you help people out, that's your job.
Right.
Do you ever go back, now that you sober and you can make right decisions, you ain't afraid to say no.
Right.
Somebody influence you. Do you go back and try to help your ex-fiancée out and then try to get her back together?
No.
Your ex-wife?
There was a time in my life when I did try and do that. But you know, you got to be ready to recover, you know, and she's just not ready. You know, today I live my life, she lives her life, and only communication we really have is regarding our children. Nothing I can do for her, you know. Besides that, you know, like I mentioned earlier in my story, our marriage wasn't really based on love. You know, it didn't have the healthy, it didn't have the requirements for a healthy relationship. You know, therefore, I don't miss it, because today I know what healthy relationships, healthy marriages are all about. You know, so I don't really miss that part of my life, you know. I mean, kind of complicated, but, you know, really that's the way it is. You know, you guys try living clean. Try living clean, staying clean. Your life is a whole lot simpler. Hell, I don't ever have to worry about being locked up again. I don't break the law no more. And I used to, often. You know, and it's a great feeling knowing I'll never have to go to jail anymore, never have to go to prison, never have to be locked up. Now I'm a responsible person today. I can go to the bank and get a loan. I get a new car every 2 years now. You know how many new cars I had when I was using? None. I mean, life is good today. There's too many great things in life to have to get high, have to waste your mind, your body. You know. I really hope you guys, when you get out of here, you don't go out on the street and smoke bud. You don't go back into the hood and get with all your old bros and stuff. Because if you do, you're gonna get in trouble again. Those are the facts. You can't beat the odds.
You said that marijuana is addictive?
Marijuana is very addictive.
Oh, Sean, hush.
Marijuana is very addictive. Now, marijuana's latest research on marijuana really amazes me. You know, I think it's one of the worst drugs you can do.
There's a myth that marijuana is not addictive.
There's a myth that says that. And there's a myth that says it's not addictive and that, you know, that it's doesn't do harm to you, etc., etc., etc. But you know, part of the addiction of marijuana is that it tells your mind all that stuff. It tells you the drug is addictive. It tells you anything that makes you feel so good cannot be bad for your body. It's part of the addiction. You know, I mean, they know it's addictive now. I know it's addictive. And there's nobody, I guarantee there's nobody in this room who loved smoking bud as much as me when I was doing it. I mean, I rolled it, I grew it, I ate it, I sold it. I did everything with it. And, you know, I can look back on today and see that, man, it led me on to a lot of other things. I can see what that drug did for me today. You know what marijuana did for me? I tell you what, today I got a job that's got a lot of responsibility. I got to make deadlines and meetings and that kind of stuff. I got a little book, something like this, called a Franklin Planner. That Franklin Planner is basically my memory. Because if I don't write down a deadline or a date or a meeting or something that I need, someplace I need to be, if I don't write it down in my planner, I don't remember it. You know why? Because I smoked reefer for 17 years. And my memory is bad. That's what reefer did for me. I don't want it in my life today, man. Don't need it. Don't need it. Too many other things I can do. I think clearly today. I never did that when I was smoking bud. I got energy today. I'll probably leave here this evening, go pump iron an hour and a half, run a couple miles. Didn't do that when I was smoking bud.
Are you back with your family now? Your brothers and sisters?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got a fantastic relationship with all my family members now. In fact, I got 2 other brothers in recovery. It was kind of a family thing with me, although my parents were not alcoholics. But all my brothers and sisters, at one time or another in their life, have had addiction problems to one substance or another. But yeah, I'm close with all my family members now. Yeah. And we're all doing good. I mean, my older brother, he's been sober about 5.5, 6 years now. He's back in school, finishing up his degree. And he does a lot of work with people in the community, too. I mean, we're all doing so much better now. It's amazing. It's unreal. It's a whole lot better. Anything else? Lunchtime, eh?
Yep, and you're going back to the cottage with us, or?
Yeah, I think so. Hit the stop button on that, will you, please?
One stop on the black one.
Same one you hit before.